A wise person once said, "Better to keep your mouth shut and let everyone think that you're a fool than to open it and remove all doubt." Get your coffee. I remember distinctly when I started working in my first career setting. I had recently turned 19 years old and I was invited to join the staff at my local church as an unpaid intern. At 19, I saw it really as a pretty big opportunity and I was really excited about it. But it was a little intimidating as well, especially when the senior pastor of the church invited me to join the weekly pastors meeting that followed the weekly staff meeting. I already felt a little bit out of place at the staff meeting, and I was more than a little bit out of place at the pastors meeting. I was not an ordained pastor. I was 19 years old. I was kind of just starting out in ministry. I had only gone to Bible college for one semester, and then the church asked me to come on as an intern. So I felt definitely out of place. And as I sat with the other pastors in the meeting, I had a strong sense that I should shut up and listen. It wasn't anything that those in the meeting said or did that made me feel that way. They were really welcoming, and so they weren't like trying to make me feel that way in any way. But there was this inner conviction, a still small voice that seemed to say, "Miles, you are an observer. Be quiet, listen, and learn." And for more than a year, that was the consistent impression that I had as I joined the other pastors in that weekly meeting. And over time, another thought began to arise, and that was only speak and give your thoughts when you're invited to do so. If someone asks you to say something, then you can speak. But other than that, keep your mouth shut and listen. And the amazing thing was that over time, I began to be asked for my input. And what really began to amaze me was that my input started to be valued and would even add value to the conversation. Many years later, I was now the pastor of that church. After I became the pastor of the same church, I had a conversation with a young man that had grown up through our youth ministry, and he was an intelligent and gifted young man, and he graduated from high school early, and then he finished his BA at about 20 years old, and then he went on to law school, and then he sat for the bar in California. And then when he and I were having this conversation, he was having a really difficult time making the transition into the career world. He was having a hard time getting his foot in the door, and he was even starting to wonder if maybe that was the direction he should be going in. He was kind of concerned about all of it. And as he and I spoke about his, shall we call it, post-law school situation that he found himself in, I shared with him this counsel. I said to him that when you begin to work in any environment as a lawyer, or you're moving from that getting out of school and starting your career, you need to recognize that it is going to take you between 2 and 5 years at least to really make the move from student to office person or lawyer or wherever you are at. You have been exceptionally good at being a student. You spent the last 12 to 15, 18 years working as a student. And now many of the things that helped you to be a strong or good student are not really going to help you to succeed all that much. They're not the same sort of abilities or talents. And so it's going to take for you for a while to kind of make that transition and to become a good worker in a law firm setting, in an office setting, in an engineering setting, whatever it may be. It's going to take a while for you to figure out how to work as this job, as a lawyer, or whatever it may be. And one of the things that will serve you well as you make that transition is if you recognize that you need to be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. In other words, shut up and listen and patiently learn what it is to live and work in this world. It's going to take some patience and learning as you just keep your ears open and your mouth shut. Over the years, I've heard a lot of influencers and thought leaders promote, especially among young men who are kind of just starting out in life, promote kind of a domineering, go-getter attitude among those young men. And they begin to make that their character as they venture out into a career environment. Now, I understand the sentiment, and I'm sure that in some circumstances it probably works really, really well. But I tend to find that those who push in with kind of a bullish self-assurance are more often than not those who lack true confidence. They are compensating for their lack of confidence. Now, don't misunderstand. I'm not in any way a fan of the beta male pushover, but face it, it's very likely going to take a solid 5 to 10 years of consistent effort in any endeavor to gain competence, the competence that's needed to produce genuine self-confidence. And in my experience, the overbearing, self-assured go-getter is often the least knowledgeable and experienced one in the room. Genuinely, he's the type to which Job mockingly responds in the Old Testament book of Job, "You are the men, and wisdom will die with you." So, be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man does not accomplish the righteousness of God. Something to think about as you enjoy your coffee today. We'll see you next time.